All right, welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to get into this one today because, look, I want you to forget everything you thought you knew about economics. Just a bunch of dry, abstract numbers sitting on some spreadsheet. Boring, right? Instead, for today's session, I want you to think of me as your personal logistics expert. We're going to head straight to the whiteboard to map out the economy's hidden supply chain. We're looking at a concept called the circular flow of income, but we're going to break it down as a twin conveyor belt system. Get ready because honestly, once you see the economy this way, you're literally never going to look at a paycheck or a trip to the grocery store the same way again.
So let's start with a really fundamental question. What actually moves when the economy turns? Think about that for a second. I want you to really hook into this idea. Let's stop thinking about the economy as abstract math and start picturing it as this massive, perfectly balanced perpetual motion logistics network. Every single day, millions of actions take place, right? People go to work, factories churn out products, shoppers fill up their carts, businesses pay their rent, the whole shebang. But underneath all of that apparent chaos is a super elegant repeating loop. There are actual things moving in a highly specific, coordinated way. And our job in this explainer is to isolate exactly what those moving parts are.
Okay, so let's dive into our master blueprint here, the circular flow of income. Basically, this is simply the flow of payments and receipts for goods, services, and factor services between different sectors. Now I know, factor services sounds a little, a bit academic, but stick with me. It just means the resources required to make things. We're talking about your labor, your land, your capital. This right here is the rulebook for our entire logistics network. It tells us that, hey, nothing happens in a vacuum. A payment from one sector is automatically a receipt for another. Every single action has an equal and corresponding reaction in this loop.
And this setup brilliantly illustrates exactly who the main players are in our simplified world. I want to bring you directly into this. On one side, we have households. That's you, me, everyone watching this explainer. And on the exact opposite side, we have firms, which represents the business sector. Now, in this simplified two-sector model, we are completely ignoring the government and foreign trade for a moment, just to look at the absolute foundation of the economy. You, the household, own all the resources, and the firms, well, they do all the producing. The connection between us, those are our twin conveyor belts.
All right, track one, the real flow, the physical stuff. Let's break this first conveyor belt down.
To really see this, I want you to completely strip away the concept of money for a second. Just imagine a world with zero cash, no credit cards, absolutely no bank accounts. What is actually physically moving between you and the businesses? Well, step one, you, the household, physically provide your time, your sweat, your labor, or maybe even land you own to the firms. These are your factor services. You are physically going to the factory or the office. Step two, the firms take your labor and they produce actual physical goods or tangible services. They bake the bread, they build the cars, they program the software. And then, step three, those finished goods flow right back to you, the buyers, so you can consume them and, live your life. You give your energy to the firm gives a physical product back to you. It's this continuous physical, tangible exchange of value.
Though let's be real, bartering your labor directly for a car gets a little complicated. And that brings us to track two, the money flow, the cash token.
You see, money doesn't actually have intrinsic value in this loop. It's simply a tracking mechanism. It allows the real flow to operate smoothly without you having to say, trade 8 hours of accounting directly for a refrigerator. Notice how perfectly these two tracks contrast and complement each other. On one hand, you have the real flow. These are physical interactions. You provide factor services, and you get finished goods. On the other hand, you have the money flow. These are your cash counters. When you provide that physical labor, track two immediately kicks into gear in the exact opposite direction. The firm hands you a cash token. Money, wages, rent, interest, whatever. Then when the firm hands you that physical finished good, track two kicks in again. You hand them back those cash tokens as money expenditures. The physical effort is instantly validated and balanced by a cash token moving the other way. Let's map this onto our complete logistics network. Picture a solid outer loop. That is track one, the real flow. Factor services flow from households to firms. Goods and services flow back from firms to households. Now inside of that, picture a dashed inner loop. That's track two, the money flow, running simultaneously but in the exact opposite direction. Factor payments, like your wages, flow to the households. Payments for goods flow back to the firms. They form a perfectly balanced closed-loop system. Literally, when a physical item moves clockwise, a money token moves counterclockwise to pay for it. It's incredible.
So, the absolutely crucial point is summarized in this identity.
Total production of goods and services by firms is exactly equal to the total consumption of goods and services by households. Honestly, I'm going to drop the mic right here because this is the absolute core of our two-sector model. Because the twin tracks mirror each other perfectly. And this is key because there are no savings in this basic model, meaning households spend every single token they earn. The system is in perpetual balance. The factor incomes of the households perfectly match the factor payments made by the firms. The income of the firm perfectly matches the expenditure of the households. It is an endlessly turning, perfectly efficient economic engine.
But come on, we all know the real world isn't quite that simple, is it? We've built a flawless two-sector perpetual motion machine. But what happens to these perfectly balanced tracks when you don't spend all your money and instead you save it? What happens when a new sector, like the government, steps in and siphons off some of those cash tokens as taxes, or injects new tokens through government spending? How does our logistics network handle these leaks and injections? Well, that is exactly what we will be whiteboarding in our next deep dive into the three-sector model. Until then, the next time you buy a cup of coffee, picture those twin tracks moving. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.